Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 2020 Charm City Classic. For those of you I haven't had the pleasure of meeting yet, my name is Ben Garmo. I'm the head coach of UMBC Mock Trial. I'll also be serving as your tournament director this weekend. Those of you who know our program know this is one of our absolute favorite times of year. We really love hosting the Charm City Classic, getting to see so many friendly faces, getting to host 4 great rounds of competition. And we're going to do our best to replicate that this year and to really bring that experience to you again through our virtual setting. As you know, sorry, everybody out there, I'm getting a message that maybe the audio is not working. I'm being told the audio is fine, so we're going to keep going. Sorry for the delay, everyone. Obviously, we're all kind of getting used to all of this, so I appreciate everyone's patience. One of the things that we love about hosting this competition is hosting it at the University of Maryland School of Law. And I'm thrilled to have Dean Donald Tobin with us here today to welcome all of you. Dean Tobin has been Dean of the University of Maryland School of Law since 2014. Before coming to Maryland, he served as a law clerk on the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals. He was an appellate attorney in the tax division of the U.S. Justice Department. And before coming to Maryland Carey Law, he was a professor of law and associate dean for academic affairs, as well as associate dean for faculty at Ohio State's Moritz College of Law. I always have a lot of nice things to say about Dean Tobin, but this year especially because he also happens to now be my boss. We're really, really excited to have him here. So thank you, Dean Tobin, for welcoming us, and I will turn it over to you.
Well, thank you, Ben, and thank you for having me here. It's always a pleasure to be able to welcome students. We wish you were welcoming you to our atrium, and our moot court room would be right there. And so we're really sorry that we're not going to be able to do that. But I did want to take an opportunity to be able to welcome you and talk to you a little bit about what you're doing, about law school in general, and really give you some sense of how what you're doing today will really matter for your future. So when I'm talking to students in general, one of the things I'm proud about both my law school and lawyers in general is that we make a difference in the world. If you look in most places around the world, lawyers are the ones who are driving the change. And the kind of experience you are having here, that you're having through these kinds of competitions, that's the start for your having the ability to have the keys to the courthouse. And once you're there, once you have those keys, you're going to have the tools to shine. So I believe programs like Trial Team, Moot Court, other types of competitions, they help transform what we do. They help transform legal education, and they allow you to combine this legal theory and practice. So, and I understand for some of you, this is just a really fun thing that you do in school to develop other critical thinking skills. But I think for many of you, this becomes a stepping stone or a starting point for being able to do trial advocacy in law school and being able to become great lawyers. And we're very committed to our trial advocacy program here at Maryland. So we're thrilled to have this opportunity and this partnership. We're fortunate to be able to welcome Ben Garmo here as our new managing director for our trial team. And one of the things we've been doing is talking to our alums and trial team, and it's really fun for me. When I travel often, I'll talk to alums, and one of the things they'll identify that was so meaningful for them was trial team. But one of the things that they said they got from it, and you're already starting to experience, is the interaction with top judges and practitioners in their field. That the weekends when they would practice and judges would come into the law school and be able to moot them and have experience with them were some of their greatest experiences in law school. And so they were able to enter a legal community even before they came to Maryland Carry Law. And you're doing that same thing. You've taken a step into a community, and I really want to commend you for that because I think it's a very special community. I also wanted to give you a big shout out for what you're doing and your adaptability, because I think it's probably the most important thing for a trial lawyer is being able to adapt, to think on one's feet, to be able to see possibilities when other people see problems. That's what good trial lawyers do. And you've done exactly that. You've been challenged this semester. You've been required to adapt to a different environment. You learned how to take the skills that you were developing and apply them in a different environment. But you know what? So did the best trial lawyers in town. They are now doing what you're doing. They are giving arguments and litigating cases in an online environment. I was talking to a Court of Special Appeals judge who's doing all of their arguments through Zoom. And I was talking about the fact that, how the lawyers were adapting to that new environment. So while we can't gather in person at the law school, I want to really commend you for taking this step and also for the way in which you're creating community among yourselves. Because one of the, I think, really strong things about Trial Team and this experience is that you support each other. You help each other thrive. So good luck on the competition. We think and encourage you that as you move forward, if you go to law school, to continue this type of work. We're committed to it at Maryland Carry Law because we believe it's a great part of the education process. And we also know that the people who are really successful at Trial Team in law school are also the people who engaged in it in college. So you're doing us a favor by your continued involvement. It's impossible, and I don't want to have this conversation with you and to discuss law without discussing things about rule of law and access to justice and our obligations as lawyers, future lawyers, students, members of our society generally, to work to improve justice for all members of our society. That's something that I think the legal profession cares deeply about, but it's also something we care deeply about at Maryland Carry Law. And I'm very proud that we've been committed to that for over 50 years. We're one of the few law schools in the country that require a clinical experience, but we don't just require a clinical experience. Our clinical experience requires students to engage in that activity in a way that supports access to justice, to help people who don't have access in other ways. So whether it be our criminal defense clinic, our environment clinic, our public health clinic, our immigration clinic, supporting victims of gender and sexual violence, supporting people in need, we work to try to make life better for people and to have access to justice. And even our intellectual property and entrepreneurship clinic works to help new and emerging businesses who can't afford lawyers. So we need to keep that passion and part of what we do. So this traits, this ideas that you're learning in trial through these trial competitions, take those skills and efforts and use those in a way to help people, because we all have to think where we can contribute to helping people who don't have the same access to justice. And we need to combine what we love with doing good. We had one of our most illustrious alums, Elijah Cummings, passed away last year, and he was a member of Congress and a leader in so many different areas, but especially in civil rights and civil liberties. And he used to come to school and talk to our students. And he would end almost every talk with the passionate line of, "What will you do?" And he'd look right at the student, "What will you do to make the world a better place?" So I commend you. I know many of you have taken on projects and have been working on those areas as you've been in your trial team programs. I want to commend you for that. I want to suggest you keep doing that. And then really what I want to end with today is to wish you luck in this competition and to thank you for joining us. So welcome, thank you, and good luck.
Thanks so much, Dean Tobin. We really appreciate it. Thank you to all the support that Maryland Carry Law has given us over the years. And thanks again for taking a few minutes to chat with us.
Happy to do it.
All right. So let's keep moving with the remainder of opening ceremonies, because I'm sure all of you are ready to get to your pairings. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with just a quick PowerPoint, just so that we can roll through a couple of pieces of information that I think will be helpful for you to know. And then we will get to the pairings. So first and foremost, I'm your tournament director for this weekend. So my cell number is here. My email address is here. If you need anything throughout the weekend, if anything's not working, if you're confused by anything, please don't hesitate to send me a text, give me a call, send me an email. When people are here in person, I always say that it's pretty much 24 hours a day. Maybe, that's not as applicable when we're here virtual, but if there's any issues with the tournament at all, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I will be happy to try and help solve them and make sure that everything is good to go. Just a quick reminder as to what our schedule looks like for this weekend. We're running the same schedule both days. Captain starts at 10 a.m. Both days. The round is scheduled to run from 10:30 to 1 p.m. on both days. And then we'll resume our afternoon round with captains at 2:30 and then round 2 at 3. Please be on time to these meetings. It's really important that we keep this tournament running timely, just to make sure that we're respectful of our judges' times as well as your time. So please just make sure that you're logged on to your captain's meetings at the time or probably a few minutes before the time that we're giving here, just so that we can keep this tournament moving and make sure that we finish up on schedule. A couple of quick reminders. This is the nomenclature that we're going to use for this tournament. So once you get to your trial room, you should rename yourself using your 4-digit team number. For the vast majority of you, I used your current AMTA team number. A few of you who don't have one yet, I used last year's. And then P or D for what side you are, and then your name. Or if you're a witness, put your character name instead of your real name. Coaches and spectators, the only thing that I would ask, I don't really care what you name yourself, just don't put your team number in your name, because our bailiffs, our presiding judges, have been trained to use those team numbers to split people into breakout rooms during the mid-trial break so that you all have an opportunity to meet as a team halfway through trial. And they're going to use those team numbers to put people in breakout rooms. I don't want you to accidentally end up in a breakout room with your team. So just, if you want to just put coach, your name, it doesn't really matter to me. Just don't put your team number in there. We're using open access Zoom rooms this weekend. If you click on the link, you'll go into the room. It's not a webinar or anything like that. So please keep in mind, if you're not supposed to be on screen, if you're not supposed to be making noise, please just triple check to make sure that your audio is muted, that your video is turned off. Same if you're going to invite any spectators. We do have one school who's not competing at this tournament, who's interested in forming an AMTA team this year, who I've invited to come and watch some rounds. So you may have some outside spectators. Just please keep in mind to remind people to mute their audio and turn off their video so that we have a smooth trial experience. The presiding judges and bailiffs will be keeping an eye out for those things as well. Most trials will, will have a presiding judge that is also serving as a bailiff. We've recruited our presiding judges specifically this year to have a group of people who are experienced judges who are also comfortable serving as both a presiding judge and a bailiff. However, 3 to 5 rounds each day, it'll be about maybe 4 tomorrow and about 5 on Sunday, we'll have a separate student bailiff in addition to a presiding judge. So in either respect, I think I've sent that script out to all of you. That's what they're going to be following, whether they're the presiding judge, the bailiff, or both. All right, so for captain's meetings, captain should sign in to the link that we've provided at the scheduled time. I will, when I send out pairings later tonight, I will resend all of those applicable links so that you have them. And when you go in, please go ahead and change your name to what we've already described. Change your name to your AMTA team number, P or D, and then your name. If you're playing a witness in the upcoming round, I would go ahead and use your real name for this just so that we can kind of keep track of who's there. I'm going to actually have Dylan Elliott. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for 1 second. And if Dylan Elliott could pop on screen for 1 moment. Say hi to the people, Dylan.
Hey, everybody.
So Dylan is one of our assistant coaches, program alum, and he's going to be running captain's meetings. So he's going to be the person that you see in captain's meetings, and he's going to be in charge of all of that. This is what Dylan looks like. Thanks, Dylan. And before I keep going, I'm going to also have Whitney Wilder pop on screen for just 1 second. Say hi to the people, Whitney. Whitney.
I was on mute. Hi, welcome.
Somebody's got to do it. So Whitney is going to be handling judge check-in and also assisting Dylan and I with sort of making sure the tournament runs smoothly. So if you need anything and you can't reach me, feel free to reach out to Dylan or Whitney as well. Their contact information is in the tournament packet that we provided. Cool. Thank you, Whitney. I'm going to return to sharing my screen here as soon as I can find the PowerPoint. All right. So at the captain's meeting, once everybody's there, Dylan's going to take attendance, and then he's going to use those team numbers that you've got in your names to split the captains into 11 different breakout rooms so that you have a private space to do everything. Once you get into that breakout room, the plaintiff should screen share, and then you've got 2 forms you need to complete: the captain's form and the competitor info sheet. I've got examples of what both of those look like on the next slides. I do have to stop and say thank you to George Washington University, to Kyle West and his awesome crew. I am shamelessly stealing these things from them after they did an unbelievable job running a 64-team tournament last weekend. I'm still somewhat amazed at how smoothly it ran, not because I didn't expect that, but just because it was 64 teams. So thank you to Kyle and his crew for letting me borrow these forms. Once those forms are done, the captain's form is also the character evidence form. I combine them into one. Then the plaintiff captains should email those forms to Dylan's email, which is listed here. It's also listed in the emails. It's also listed in the tournament packet, and CC at least one of the defense captains. Easiest way to do that is for one of the defense captains to just drop your email in the chat, and the plaintiff captain can email that. Once you're done with that, please come back to the main room. Don't just leave the entire call. Dylan needs to confirm that we've gotten those forms. Once we've gotten those forms, then you can head on off back to your trial room. But as usual, if we don't get those forms, we're not going to let you start. This is what the captain's form is going to look like. It's literally just a Word document of what you already have. Use the highlight feature to fill things in. You can type your courtroom number and your team number, but otherwise highlight everything exactly the way it's shown here. And then this is what that student info sheet looks like. The reason you're doing this is at the very end of the round. Once the round is over, this will screen share. The plaintiff will screen share this document, and the judges will be able to use it in order to do their individual awards. They're not using student names for individual awards. They're going to use attorney roles, so plaintiff opener, plaintiff middle, plaintiff closer, as well as the various witnesses that are available. So if you click on, you can see it here for the witnesses, but it's also set up for the attorneys. The available roles are set up in a drop-down menu in this form. So please make sure that you fill out all 6 roles, the 3 attorneys, the 3 witnesses, put the students' names and your team number, and that way at the very end, the judges can see this and they can use that to do individual awards. Between rounds 3 and 4, so these will probably get emailed to you with your round 4 pairings, I will email you 2 forms. The first one is our Spirit of Charm City form. That's pretty self-explanatory. I think you all know how to handle a Spirit of AMTA form. And then I'm also going to send you a tournament round roster form. Sam Jahinger of University of Chicago is handling our tabulation system for this weekend. He's put together this form, and it's basically going to ask you, I'm going to show you a sample in just one second. It's going to ask you to tell us the names of who played each one of your 6 competitors for all 4 of your rounds. That we can then use to essentially combine with the judge's individual award data to generate our individual awards. I'm going to show you what that looks like in a second. Both forms need to be turned into us before round 4 begins. So please just keep in mind that now. We'll probably check at the captain's meetings to make sure that we've gotten those forms. So keep track. It's probably easiest to just designate one person on your team to write down, okay, plaintiff opener, plaintiff middle, plaintiff closer, and then who your 3 witnesses were, in what order, and who played them. That way you can just go in, fill out that form, which essentially looks like this. So you're literally just going to type in the person's name, and that way we can use that to generate our individual awards. Pairings. The pairings without Zoom links are going to be tweeted at UMBC mock trial. And then the pairings with Zoom links are going to be emailed to everyone that you designated on your roster form that you wanted them to be emailed to. It's a group of 100 people. The pairings are going to come out on Twitter first, just because it's easier to get them generated and ready to go. And then as soon as they're there, I will sit down, assign courtrooms, assign presiding judges, and then you'll get your Zoom links probably about 15 to 20 minutes after you get your initial pairings. The other thing too, you should have all gotten an email from me if you are supposed to have ballot access. I sent those out around, I think, maybe noonish today. Each individual team should have gotten an email from me with 3 links. One is a link to your individual ballots, which includes both your rankings and your awards and your comments. A second one is all of the blue ballots, doesn't have any of the comments, doesn't have any of the individual award rankings, but you can access anyone's blue ballots just like you normally could. And the third one is our digital tabulation cards. You'll be able to see the tabulation cards as they update in real times, and the pairing system operate in real times as well. All right, I think that is basically everything. The last thing that I'm going to say before I switch to our pairing sheet is to please just keep in mind that we're kind of working through all of this for the first time. So if you run into any technical issues, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I mentioned this in the rule book, but if you're someone who has already competed in the round and you're done for that round, say you're a witness and you finish up, and then you don't necessarily need to be there for the rest of the time, we're not going to stop the trial for that. But if you still have functions to go and you lose your internet, you lose your connection, let your team know as soon as possible. Or team, if you see one of your teammates disappear, let the presiding judge know as soon as possible so we can stop that trial. Don't worry about all loss, right? Please enforce time limits, although be kind to each other when you're doing so. I'm not going to all loss anyone at this tournament unless you just egregiously blow past time. But even then, I'm probably not going to do it. Just make sure that you adhere to those time limits, and you should be just fine. All right, I am going to now share our pairings sheet here, and we can get started with our pairings. All right, great. So I have my bucket of names here. So let's go ahead and get started, and we will we'll tweet these out as soon as we're done, and we will also email them as soon as we have the pairings done as well. All right, starting out on the plaintiff, we have team 1042. That would be Patrick Henry College. And then opposing them on the defense, we have team 1249, Rutgers University. All right, next up on the plaintiff, we have team 1446, that would be Swarthmore College. And then on the defense, we have team 1551, the University of Scranton. All right, continuing forward, we have team 1114, that's UMBC-A. For the purposes of this tournament, that's UMBC Gold for my retrievers who are out there listening. And on the defense, facing off with them, is going to be team 1512, Stevenson University. All right, next up on the plaintiff, we have home to either the first or second best podcast host in the country, depending on who you ask, Haverford College. And then on the defense, we have team 1030, American University. All right, next up on the plaintiff, team 1129, Washington and Lee. And facing off with them on the defense will be team 1131, Wheaton College. Next up on the plaintiff is, if I drop the form, team 1495, the Terrapins of the University of Maryland, College Park. And facing off and going on the defense will be the Gamecocks, team 1402, the University of South Carolina. All right, moving our way down the field. Representing the plaintiff is going to be team 1332, the Blue Jays of Johns Hopkins University. If I can find their number, which is right here. And facing off with Johns Hopkins is going to be team 1194, the University of Virginia B. All right, 4 more rounds to go. On the plaintiff is going to be Team 1560, the Nittany Lions of Penn State University. Fun fact, the University of Maryland School of Law team that just made its way to the quarterfinals has a couple of UMBC alums as well as a Penn State alum. Just thought I'd toss that in there. And on the defense, we have Team 1115. That would be UMBC B, UMBC Black team, UMBC B. All right, we're down to our last three matchups. On the plaintiff, Team 1398, the University of Massachusetts Amherst. And facing off with them on the defense, there's like 5 pieces of paper in here. I can probably stop shaking the bucket. We have Team 1335, George Washington University. The last 2 rounds. Starting out on the plaintiff, we have Team 1342, Howard University. And on the defense, oh, that'll be a good one. Team 1193, the University of Virginia A. And our last matchup of the evening. On the plaintiff is going to be Team 1248, Wake Forest. And that leaves us with our final team yet to be called, Team 1032, Iona College. All right, that concludes our opening ceremonies. I will tweet out these pairings in the next few minutes, and then in about, I would say, a half an hour, once I check a few things and get all of our presiders assigned, I am going to get out the Zoom links. Those links should pretty much be open from the moment that you get them if you want to test things out. And tomorrow morning at 9:30, I will see all of the captains in the captain's room, or tomorrow morning at, I don't know my own schedule. Whenever it's scheduled to be captain's meetings, I will see all the captains in the captain's room, and then we will start our round at 10:30 a.m. sharp. Good luck to everyone. It's great to see all of you, and I will see you again at closing ceremonies.